Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, dark ocean. The waves crash relentlessly, one after the other. Each wave alone seems harmless, almost gentle. But over time, the ocean carves cliffs, shifts shores, and reshapes the landscape entirely. That is the power of consistency. Not the flashy, dramatic bursts of effort we see in stories. Not the moments of inspiration that make us feel alive for a single day. True power, the kind that transforms lives, works silently, relentlessly, like the ocean against stone. In this audiobook, we will journey together into the heart of consistency. We will explore how a single, unyielding commitment, repeated day after day, can break through every limit that has ever held you back. You will discover why consistency is not a habit. It is a force capable of reshaping your mind, your body, your life. By the time you finish this audiobook, you will see the world differently. You will understand that limits are illusions, and that every barrier you once feared is waiting to be shattered if you simply refuse to stop. Chapter 1: The Silent Power. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a single drop of water falling onto a solid rock. One drop alone changes nothing. It hits, splashes, and disappears. You might think it is powerless. You might wonder if it even matters. But what if that drop fell? Not once, not 10 times, but every single day, year after year. Over time, the rock begins to wear away. It cracks, it shifts, and eventually it transforms. What once seemed immovable bends to the quiet, persistent force. That is the essence of consistency. Most of us spend our lives waiting for the dramatic breakthrough, for the sudden moment when everything changes. We look for the spark, the inspiration, the surge of motivation, and when it doesn't come immediately, we grow frustrated. We give up. We tell ourselves it's impossible. But real power, the kind that reshapes destinies, is not born in a single act of brilliance. It is built in the repetition of small, deliberate choices, the silent, almost invisible actions that accumulate over time. Consistency is not glamorous. It does not announce itself with fireworks. It does not demand attention. It is quiet, unassuming, but it is relentless, and in that relentlessness lies its magic. Every morning you wake up and take a step. Every evening you persist when your body and mind beg for rest. Every day you show up, even when no one is watching. You are wielding a force far more powerful than luck, talent, or fleeting motivation. Think about the sculptor. Before a masterpiece emerges, the sculptor spends countless hours chiseling away at a block of marble. Each strike seems insignificant. Each day of effort might feel fruitless. But the consistency of his hands transforms the raw stone into art. You too are a sculptor. Your life is the marble, and your consistent actions are the chisels. Every choice, every small effort, is shaping who you are and who you are becoming. This first chapter is not just an introduction. It is a revelation. It is a reminder that the limits you feel are illusions. The barriers you see are not permanent. They are challenges meant to be worn down, chipped away, and eventually overcome by the simple act of showing up, day after day. It begins here with awareness, with commitment, with the decision to act not once, not occasionally, but consistently. Let me share a story. There was a man who dreamed of running a marathon. At first he could barely jog a single block without gasping for air. Friends laughed, saying he would never make it. But he didn't quit. Every day he ran a little farther. He faced cold mornings, sore muscles, days when he felt weak, invisible, and exhausted. The progress was imperceptible at first, but after months, then years, he ran 26 miles without stopping. Not because he was naturally gifted, not because he was struck by sudden inspiration, but because he committed to the quiet, often unseen practice of consistent effort. The marathon was not the goal, it was the proof of what consistency had already achieved. You see, our world is obsessed with overnight success, with instant gratification, with the big, flashy moments that make for headlines. But those moments are deceiving. They hide the truth. Every triumph, every victory, every limit broken, begins in the silence of repetition. Every great achievement is the result of persistent, often boring daily work, the work no one notices, but which changes everything. Consistency is a test of character. It is not about doing what is easy or convenient. It is about doing what is necessary, even when you do not feel like it. It is the courage to face your own weaknesses, your own doubts, your own fear, and choose action anyway. It is the willingness to endure, to persist, to rise again and again when the world, and sometimes even you yourself, questions whether it is worth it. And here is the most powerful truth: limits are never fixed. The boundaries you believe define you are merely starting points. They are not walls, they are challenges waiting to be met. And every time you act consistently, every time you refuse to quit, you push those boundaries outward. Slowly, imperceptibly, almost invisibly, you expand what is possible, until one day you look back and realize you have moved further than you ever imagined, broken more limits than you thought existed, and achieved more than you believed you could. But it all begins with the decision to begin, to take the first drop of water and let it fall, every day, onto the rock of your own limitations. That is the power you are learning to wield. That is the force that will carry you through every struggle, every doubt, and every moment when giving up seems easier than moving forward. As you continue this journey, remember, consistency is not a sprint. It is not a single act of willpower. It is a lifestyle, a dedication, a quiet, relentless force that works on your behalf, whether you see it or not. It asks nothing but your presence, your commitment, your courage to continue even when results are invisible. Chapter 1 is your foundation. It is your invitation to see beyond excuses, beyond frustration, beyond limit. It is the first step in a journey where every day matters, every action counts, and every small, repeated effort brings you closer to breaking through boundaries you once thought unshakable. And now, as you breathe in the weight of this understanding, as you feel the quiet power stirring inside, know that the next step awaits. In the following chapter, we will explore why motivation alone is not enough, and why the quiet, consistent choices you make, especially when inspiration fades, are the ones that will shape your destiny. Prepare yourself. The journey is only beginning, and the limits you believed were permanent are about to meet their match. Chapter 2. The Myth of Motivation. Close your eyes and picture a candle burning in the dark. Its light flickers, sometimes bright, sometimes barely there. One gust of wind, one distraction, and the flame almost disappears. Motivation is like that candle. It feels powerful when it burns, but it is fragile. It can inspire you, yes, but it cannot carry you through the nights when darkness surrounds you. We live in a world obsessed with motivation. Everywhere you look, there are messages promising instant inspiration, sudden breakthroughs, and overnight transformation. We chase those sparks, hoping they will ignite our lives. But the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Motivation is fleeting. It is unreliable. It comes and goes like the tide, unpredictable and often absent when we need it most. Now, imagine trying to build a life, a skill, or a dream by relying on something so unstable. You would start with fire and end with ashes. Many people fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they mistook motivation for consistency. They wait for the feeling, the surge, the excitement, And when it fades, and it always does, they stop. Here is the crucial difference. Consistency does not wait for emotion. It does not rely on fleeting feelings of inspiration. It is steady, unwavering, and unstoppable. Where motivation flickers, consistency endures. It shows up on the days you feel tired, the mornings when the alarm seems like a burden, the nights when doubt creeps into your mind. It acts regardless of how you feel. Think of a gardener planting seeds. Some days the soil is dry, some days the sun is too harsh, or the rain too heavy. The gardener does not plant only when conditions are perfect. The gardener shows up, digs, waters, and tends, trusting the process. Over time, the seeds sprout, they grow, they flourish. Motivation is the sun or the rain. Consistency is the gardener's hands, persistent, patient, and disciplined. Without the gardener, the seeds remain dormant regardless of the weather. Consider an athlete. The world celebrates the moments of victory, the medal, the record, the championship. But no one sees the hours spent training when motivation is absent. No one notices the repetitions, the drills, the days when progress seems invisible. Those moments, boring and unseen, are what build champions. Motivation might have started the journey, but consistency completes it. Now let's reflect personally. How many times have you started something with excitement, only to abandon it weeks later because the spark faded? A book half read, a workout plan neglected, a project left unfinished. Each time you give up, it is not because the task was impossible. It is because you relied on a fleeting fire rather than the quiet, enduring power of daily action. Consistency is an internal force. It is a commitment you make to yourself. It does not promise immediate gratification. It does not glamorize effort, but it does guarantee transformation, slow, sometimes imperceptible, but unstoppable. Every step, every action repeated without fail, compounds over time. It accumulates into something extraordinary, something unshakable, something that cannot be taken away. Let me share a story. There was a writer who dreamed of publishing a novel. Some days she wrote thousands of words. Other days she barely managed a sentence. But she committed to writing every day, regardless of output or mood. Years later, she completed her book, not because she felt motivated every morning, not because she was inspired, but because she had chosen to show up consistently. Motivation may have lit the candle occasionally, but her consistent work built a lighthouse that guided her to success. Motivation is powerful when present, yes, but it is unreliable. Consistency, however, is dependable. It becomes a habit, a rhythm, a force that operates beyond your emotions, beyond your doubts, beyond the noise of the world. It teaches you a profound lesson. You do not need to feel ready to take action. You only need to begin to persist, to continue, day after day, until what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Here is the essential truth. Success is rarely a product of inspiration. It is almost always a product of disciplined, repeated action over time. Motivation may ignite the first spark, but it is consistency that builds the fire that cannot be extinguished. Every limit you once thought unbreakable, every goal that seemed unreachable, every fear that paralyzed you, these begin to crumble under the quiet, persistent force of daily commitment. This chapter is a turning point. It challenges a deeply held belief that feeling inspired is enough to succeed. It reminds you that motivation is optional, fleeting, and unreliable. Consistency is essential, dependable, and transformative. It is the bridge between dreams and reality, between potential and achievement, between limits and breakthroughs. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, when was the last time you acted without waiting to feel ready? When was the last time you persisted, even when your energy waned, your doubts surged, and your progress seemed invisible? That is where true power lives. That is where limits begin to break. That is where you start to understand what it truly means to be unstoppable. And now, as this chapter closes, let your mind linger on one thought. Motivation is the spark, but consistency is the flame that endures. Tomorrow, and every day after, your choices, your actions, will either feed the flame or let it die. The path ahead demands a commitment beyond feeling, beyond comfort, beyond hesitation. In the next chapter, we will explore how small, seemingly insignificant actions, repeated over time, create waves so powerful they can break through every limit you thought was permanent. You will learn how the quiet, deliberate steps you take every day compound into unstoppable momentum. Prepare yourself. The journey is gaining depth. The tools you are about to discover will not rely on inspiration alone. They will teach you how to act when motivation fades, and how those actions, repeated without fail, will carry you further than you ever imagined. Chapter 3: Small Actions, Giant Waves. Imagine a single pebble dropped into a still pond. One pebble creates a ripple. The effect seems small, almost insignificant. But then imagine dozens of pebbles, day after day, dropped into the same water. The ripples collide, grow, and spread farther than you could see. Eventually, the calm surface is transformed. That is the hidden power of small, consistent actions. One tiny effort alone might not change much, but repeated relentlessly, over time, it becomes unstoppable. Most people underestimate the impact of small actions because they are too focused on dramatic, immediate results. They look at the mountain of their dreams and think, how can I possibly make a dent? And so, they do nothing, waiting for a moment of sudden inspiration or a miracle breakthrough. The truth is far simpler, far more powerful. You don't have to climb the mountain all at once. You only need to take the next step, and then the next, and then the next. Small actions compound. They feed each other, multiply, and accelerate. Writing 1 page a day may seem trivial, but over a year it becomes 365 pages, enough for a full novel. Doing 10 push-ups today feels meaningless, yet repeated consistently, it transforms strength and stamina. Saving a little money each week might seem like a whisper against your financial goals, but over time it grows into substantial security. These small, seemingly inconsequential efforts are not small at all. They are the seeds of extraordinary change. Think about nature for a moment. Rivers do not carve canyons overnight. They flow steadily, persistently, often unnoticed. The water wears away stone not with power alone, but with patience and repetition. Mountains that seem immovable are shaped and reshaped over time. Consistency is like that river. Your repeated actions, no matter how minor they seem, are shaping the landscape of your life. Here's a story that illustrates this truth. A young woman wanted to learn a musical instrument. At first, she struggled to play a single chord. Her fingers hurt, her mind wanted to quit, and her progress was painfully slow. But she promised herself she would practice for just 15 minutes every day. Some days she played beautifully, other days she barely made a sound. Yet she persisted. A year later she performed a piece that once seemed impossible, not because of a sudden burst of talent, but because of consistent, deliberate practice. Small actions repeated without fail had built her mastery. Consistency also teaches patience. The world around us values speed. We are conditioned to expect instant results, viral success, and overnight achievement. But life rarely works that way. Progress is often quiet. It accumulates slowly, imperceptibly. The person who achieves greatness is rarely the one with the flashiest start. They are the one who endures, who repeats, who shows up when no one is watching. Every action you take creates a ripple. Every habit you maintain sends waves through your life. The problem is, we often ignore the power of these ripples. We overlook the quiet momentum building beneath the surface. We fail to see that one repeated action, consistently maintained, is capable of transforming our skills, our confidence, and our results. Let's break this down further. Success is not always the result of genius ideas or sudden luck. It is the accumulation of small, deliberate efforts, compounded over time. Learning a language, building a career, mastering an art, improving health. None of it happens in a single, monumental effort. It happens through repeated actions, choices, and steps, consistently applied. One day, you will wake up and realize that what once seemed impossible is now your reality. That is the power of small actions compounded into giant waves. The key is not perfection, it is persistence. You do not have to execute every step flawlessly. You do not have to move mountains in a single day. You only need to commit to the motion, to the daily repetition, to the process itself. Small actions repeated consistently are far more powerful than grand gestures taken sporadically. Consistency also transforms identity. When you repeatedly take small actions aligned with your goals, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to embody the habits, the discipline, and the character of the person you aspire to become. Each small effort reinforces that identity until it becomes natural. You no longer have to force yourself to act. Your actions flow effortless because they are now a part of who you are. Here is another truth that often surprises people. Limits are rarely broken with a single, extraordinary effort. They are dismantled gradually through repeated, intentional action. Every small effort chips away at the boundaries that once constrained you. Every tiny victory, every incremental improvement compounds into something unstoppable, and before you know it, the life you once imagined begins to take shape. Quietly, steadily, but with unstoppable force. Now reflect for a moment. How many small actions could you take today that, if repeated daily, would change your life in a year? One page written, one conversation initiated, one step taken toward health or skill, one choice to act instead of wait. These are the seemingly insignificant seeds of transformation, and when planted consistently, they grow into results far beyond what you imagine. This chapter is a call to action. It is a reminder that the path to breaking limits is not in the dramatic, the flashy, or the extraordinary. It is in the small, repeated efforts that compound over time. These are the waves that will erode your fears, crack open your doubts, and ultimately sweep away the boundaries you once thought immovable. As you carry this understanding forward, remember, there is power in every choice, strength in every repetition, and momentum in every small, deliberate step. The ripples of your daily actions are shaping your future, even when you cannot yet see them. And as we move into the next chapter, we will explore how these repeated efforts not only accumulate, but reshape your mind itself, breaking mental limits, shifting perceptions, and unlocking the strength within you that has always been waiting. Prepare yourself. The waves you are creating are already in motion, and the next steps will show you just how unstoppable consistency can become. Chapter 4. Breaking Mental Limits. Close your eyes and picture a vast wall, stretching higher than the eye can see, a barrier that seems immovable, unbreakable. You stand before it, feeling small, powerless, trapped. This wall is not made of stone or steel. It is made of your own thoughts, your own fears, your own doubts. It is the invisible limit your mind has drawn around you, and yet every wall, no matter how imposing, can be broken. The N is a powerful force, capable of creating both freedom and confinement. Most of the limits you feel, the boundaries you believe are permanent, exist only in your imagination. They are the stories you tell yourself. I'm not strong enough. I can't do this. This is impossible. These thoughts are illusions, yet we treat them as reality. The challenge then is not outside, it is inside. It is mental, and mental limits, unlike physical ones, can be shattered. Consistency is the hammer that breaks these invisible walls. Every time you act despite fear, every time you push forward when doubt whispers, you chip away at the boundary your mind has constructed. One small victory leads to another. One repeated effort rewrites the story you have been telling yourself for years. Slowly, imperceptibly, your perception shifts. What once felt impossible begins to feel achievable. What once felt heavy becomes lighter. What once restrained you now propels you forward. Consider the athlete who trains not just the body, but the mind. The real struggle is not the physical exertion, it is the voice inside that says, "Stop, you can't go further. You are done." The consistent refusal to listen to that voice, the repeated choice to act anyway, is what strengthens mental resilience. Over time, the limits that seemed permanent crumble. The impossible becomes normal. The extraordinary becomes routine. Mental limits are not only self-imposed, they are reinforced by fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of discomfort. We avoid challenges because our minds tell us we are not ready, not capable, not deserving. But consistency is courage in action. Every time you choose to persist, every time you step into discomfort, you are proving to yourself that fear does not define you. You are more capable than your mind believes, stronger than your doubts imagine, and more resilient than your insecurities assume. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who dreamed of starting her own business. Every time she tried, anxiety gripped her. She questioned every decision, worried she would fail, worried she would be judged. Yet she committed to taking one consistent action every day. Researching, learning, writing her plan, reaching out to mentors. Each action alone seemed small, even insignificant. But over months, those actions compounded. She built confidence, skill, and clarity. The mental wall of doubt, once so towering, slowly fell, and eventually she launched a business that not only survived but thrived. She had broken through the limits her own mind had imposed. Breaking mental limits is a process. It is not a momentary revelation. It is the accumulation of deliberate, persistent action. Each day you act consistently, you are rewriting the software of your mind, replacing fear with confidence, doubt with certainty, hesitation with momentum. You are teaching yourself a profound lesson. Limits are not fixed. They are temporary. They are challenges to be overcome, not truths to be accepted. Here is a key insight. The mind obeys what is repeated. Thoughts are strengthened by repetition, just as habits are formed by daily practice. When you consistently challenge your mental limits, you are rewiring your brain, reshaping your beliefs, and redefining what is possible. Over time, your mindset expands, and the walls that once contained you collapse. Mental limits are also contagious. When you break through your own barriers, you inspire others to do the same. Your courage, persistence, and consistency send ripples that extend far beyond yourself. By refusing to be limited by fear or doubt, you become a living example of what is possible when the mind is trained through action. Reflection is essential. Ask yourself, what mental limits have I accepted as truth? Where have I allowed fear, doubt, or insecurity to draw boundaries around my potential? Now ask yourself, what consistent actions could I take to challenge these limits, to prove to myself that I am capable of more than I have believed? The answers lie not in wishful thinking, not in sudden inspiration, but in persistent daily effort. This chapter is an awakening. It teaches that the walls you see are not immovable. They are mental constructs, and every deliberate action chips away at them. It reminds you that growth begins where comfort ends, and that real strength is forged in the moments when fear is loudest, doubt is strongest, and giving up seems. As you carry this understanding forward, Know this: the mind is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally when trained through consistency. Limits exist only until you challenge them. Fear exists only until you act despite it. Doubt exists only until you prove yourself capable through relentless, repeated effort. And now, as this chapter draws to a close, feel the power of your own mind awakening. The walls that once contained you are no longer permanent. You have learned that mental limits can be shattered, that courage is built through consistent action, and that your potential is far greater than you imagined. In the next chapter, we will explore the discipline of showing up, the practical, tangible way that persistence transforms your life. You will see how consistency, when combined with unwavering presence, not only breaks mental limits, but builds the foundation for unstoppable momentum. Prepare yourself. The walls are cracking, the path is opening, and the next steps will teach you how to move forward with confidence, power, and unwavering resolve. Chapter 5. The Discipline of Showing Up. Picture a solitary runner at dawn, the world still cloaked in darkness. The air is cold, the streets empty, and every fiber of their body protests against moving forward, and yet they run. Step by step, breath by breath, they show up. Day after day, no audience, no applause, no guarantee of results, just presence, just commitment, just the act of showing up. This is discipline. This is consistency in its purest form. Most people underestimate the power of simply showing up. They think success requires grand gestures, sudden inspiration, or exceptional talent. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect feeling. But the truth is far simpler, yet far more profound. Showing up consistently, even when you do not feel ready, is what separates those who achieve from those who dream. Discipline is not about intensity, it is about presence. It is about refusing to let circumstance dictate action. It is about making a commitment to yourself and then honoring it relentlessly. Every day you choose to show up, whether to your goals, your work, or your personal growth, you are building a force that compounds quietly but powerfully over time. Consider an artist who paints one small stroke every morning. Some days the stroke seems meaningless. Some days the canvas remains empty for hours. Yet each time they show up, something is created. The stroke becomes a pattern. The pattern becomes a piece. The piece becomes a body of work that tells a story the world has never seen before. Without showing up, there is nothing. The canvas remains blank. Action, repeated, transforms potential into reality. Showing up is also a test of courage. There will be days when your energy is low, when doubt is loud, when failure feels inevitable. Showing up means stepping into discomfort, moving forward when hesitation tempts you to stop. It is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to act despite fear. Every time you do this, you strengthen not just your skills, but your character. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you imagined. Think about the habits that define excellence. Athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, they do not achieve greatness in sudden bursts. They achieve it by showing up every day, repeating the same actions over and over, even when progress is invisible. Every missed workout, every skipped practice, every day you do not show up is a day where momentum is lost. But better you commit to presence. Every small action repeated consistently builds unstoppable momentum. There is a story of a man who dreamed of writing a book. At first, he struggled with words, confidence and doubt, but he made a vow to write a single paragraph every day. Some days it was only a sentence. Some days it felt clumsy, uninspired, even painful. Yet he continued. Years later, his consistent presence at the page produced a novel that touched countless lives, not because of bursts of brilliance, but because of the discipline to show up. Showing up also changes your mindset. It trains you to trust in the process rather than demand instant results. It teaches patience, resilience, and humility. It reshapes your perception of obstacles. When you show up consistently, obstacles become challenges to be navigated, not barriers to stop you. Every time you face difficulty and choose presence over avoidance, you reinforce the belief that progress is possible, that limits are temporary, and that your commitment is stronger than your fear. Consistency and showing up are inseparable. Motivation ignites, small actions accumulate, and mental limits are challenged. But without the discipline of showing up, all of these principles remain theoretical. It is the act of presence, repeated daily, that turns theory into reality. Each day you show up, you reinforce the habit of action. Each day you persist, you rewrite your own story. Each day you refuse to quit, you strengthen the foundation of your future. Reflection is key. Ask yourself, where in my life am I not showing up? Where have I let fear, fatigue, or doubt keep me from consistent action? And now, ask, what if I committed to presence? No excuses, no delays, no waiting for perfection. What could I achieve if I simply showed up, day after day, without fail? The answer is more than possibility. It is transformation. Showing up is also a quiet victory over procrastination. Every time you act despite reluctance, you reclaim power over your choices. You take control of your actions, and by extension, your destiny. Success is not a matter of luck or timing. It is a matter of showing up consistently, regardless of circumstances, and letting the results compound over time. This chapter is a reminder that the journey is built on presence. Talent is insufficient. Inspiration is unreliable. Planning is impotent without action. What matters is showing up. What matters is doing the work, again and again, even when the world is quiet, even when progress feels invisible, even when the outcome is uncertain. Presence is the vehicle that carries consistency from theory into reality. As this chapter closes, hold on to one truth: the power is not in dramatic breakthroughs, but in steady, relentless commitment. The act of showing up is what builds resilience, rewires the mind, and breaks the limits you once thought were permanent. Your future is forged, not in moments of convenience, but in the moments when you choose to act, even when you do not feel like it. In the next chapter, we will explore how time compounds the effects of consistency, and why patience is not passive. It is the engine that transforms small repeated actions into unstoppable results. You will learn how to harness the quiet power of time, to break through limits you once believed unchangeable. Prepare yourself. Every day you show up, every step you take, every action repeated consistently, is building something far greater than you can see. The journey continues, and the momentum you create now will carry you toward a future of limitless possibility. Chapter 6. The Power of Time and Patience. Close your eyes and imagine a tiny seed buried in dark soil. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass. At first, nothing seems to happen. No sprout, no sign of life, only the quiet presence of potential. And yet, beneath the surface, change is occurring. Roots grow, cells divide, energy gathers. Then, one morning a small green shoot breaks through the earth. What seemed dormant was never inactive. It was simply moving in time, quietly, patiently, consistently. This is the power of time, and the gift of patience. Too often, we misunderstand how transformation works. We want speed. We want instant results. We measure progress by immediate evidence, and when we do not see it, we panic, we doubt, we quit. But the truth is that time is not our enemy. It is the ultimate ally. Consistency acts like the sun, water, and soil. Time is the unseen force that compounds your efforts, turning small repeated actions into results so large they almost seem miraculous. Consider the mathematician who studies a problem for hours, days, or even years. Each calculation alone may seem inconsequential. Each step seems like a minor addition to an endless page. Yet over time, those steps converge into insight, understanding, and discovery. Without patience, the results remain hidden, and the effort feels wasted. With patience, time transforms repetition into mastery, and persistence into achievement. Patience is not passive, it is active waiting. It is not resignation, it is deliberate trust in the process. It is the discipline to continue acting, even when results are not yet visible. It is the understanding that transformation is a journey, not a moment. And this is where most people fail. They give up too soon, assuming that lack of immediate progress is a sign of inadequacy, rather than a sign that time is quietly doing its work. Let me tell you a story. A young entrepreneur started a small business with barely any resources. Every day he made small investments, learning about his market, refining his product, reaching out to potential customers. Months passed. The growth was slow, the results were minimal. He could have quit at any point, yet he persisted, trusting that time, combined with consistent action, would yield results. 2 years later, his business was thriving. Not because of luck, but because patience and time had amplified his persistent effort. Time works in compounding. Small, consistent actions, repeated over days, months, and years, accumulate into momentum too powerful to ignore. A single effort may seem meaningless, but the repeated choice to act, day after day, is what transforms potential into reality. One push-up repeated daily may not change your life in a week. One page written may not complete a novel in a month, but over months and years, those small actions accumulate, and your life begins to change in ways that once felt impossible. The challenge is learning to trust the invisible work. Time does its best work beneath the surface. Your efforts may feel unnoticed. Your progress may feel invisible. And yet, the consistent practice, the repeated choices, the daily actions, they are all laying the foundation for extraordinary results. Patience is the lens through which you can see beyond the present, beyond the frustration, and into the inevitable outcomes of your efforts. There is another layer to time and patience: resilience. The longer you commit to consistent action, the more you train yourself to endure setbacks, challenges, and disappointments. Patience teaches perspective. It shows you that failure is not final, that mistakes are not permanent, and that every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to breaking your limits. Without patience, resilience weakens. With patience, resilience strengthens, and your capacity for success expands exponentially. Now consider your own life. How often have you abandoned goals because the results were slower than you expected? How often have you given up on yourself when patience could have carried you through the invisible phase of growth? The most powerful force in breaking limits is not intensity alone, it is sustained, patient effort over time. Your limits are not broken in a day. They are dismantled over weeks, months, and years through repeated action, faith in the process, and the quiet power of patience. Time is a teacher, but only for those willing to show up consistently. It rewards action and persistence, and it punishes inconsistency and doubt. Every day you act, you invest in your future. Every day you persist, you compound your result. Every day you show patience, you strengthen the invisible threads that will one day lift you beyond what you once thought possible. Reflection is essential. Ask yourself, where am I impatient in my life? Where have I underestimated the power of time? And now, ask, what if I trusted the process, acted consistently, and allowed time to amplify my efforts? The results will not always be immediate, but they will be inevitable. Every limit, every obstacle, every fear will eventually yield to consistent, patient effort. This chapter is a reminder that mastery, transformation, and success are not accidents. They are the product of time compounded by consistent action. Patience is not waiting passively. It is trusting actively. It is showing up again and again, even when nothing seems to happen. It is understanding that the invisible work happening today is what creates the visible breakthroughs of tomorrow. As this chapter closes, embrace the quiet power of time. Embrace patience as an active, deliberate force in your life. Understand that every small, consistent action, repeated over months and years, is transforming you in ways you cannot yet see. In the next chapter, we will explore the critical role of habits in sustaining consistency, the structures that make showing up automatic, effortless, and unstoppable. You will learn how to build routines that anchor your efforts, break mental barriers, and turn persistence into a natural part of your life. Prepare yourself. Time is working, the invisible progress is real, and the journey ahead will teach you how to harness both patience and persistence to shatter limits and create results beyond imagination. Chapter 7. Habits that anchor consistency. Picture a ship in the midst of a stormy sea. Waves crash against it, winds rage, and the horizon seems lost in a blur of grey. Yet the ship remains steady, its course unwavering, not because the storm is gentle, but because it is anchored. Habits are the anchors of your life. They are the structures that hold you firm when chaos surrounds you, the routines that ensure you keep moving forward even when motivation fades. Consistency without habits is fragile. Motivation is fleeting. Inspiration is unpredictable. If you rely on them alone, your progress will rise and fall like the tides. Habits, however, are deliberate choices turned automatic. They make persistence effortless. They remove the need for constant decision-making. They are the silent architects of long-term success. Think about brushing your teeth. You do it not because you are motivated every morning, but because it has become a habit. You have trained yourself to show up without debate, without effort. Now imagine applying this principle to the actions that break limits, the actions that grow skills, build resilience, and forge success. When these actions become habits, consistency becomes inevitable. Consider the story of a writer who struggled to complete a novel. Some days writing felt impossible. Some days distractions were endless. But she created a habit: write 500 words at the same time every day. Rain or shine, tired or energized, she showed up. The habit became non-negotiable. It removed the friction of choice and transformed effort into routine. The words accumulated, the story unfolded, and what once seemed impossible became natural. Habits are the bridge between intention and action. They take the lofty goals you dream about and embed them into daily life. Without habits, intentions are like leaves in the wind, easily blown off course. With habits, intention meets structure. It meets reliability. It meets power. The smallest habit, repeated consistently, becomes a force that shapes your day, your month, your year, and ultimately your life. But habits require deliberate design. Not all routines lead to growth. Some anchor mediocrity. Some reinforce limits. That is why building the right habits is critical. Start with clarity. Know exactly what you want to achieve. Then break it down into manageable, repeatable action. Finally, attach those actions to a trigger, a time, a place, or an event, so that showing up becomes automatic, almost unavoidable. There is another secret about habits. They compound. Just like money invested over time grows exponentially, habits build momentum. One habit leads to another. One small success builds confidence. One repeated action strengthens identity. Over months and years, these habits form a lattice of progress, so strong, so integrated into your life, that breaking limits becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Reflect for a moment. Where are your habits serving you, and where are they holding you back? Which routines reinforce growth, and which reinforce stagnation? The answer is powerful, because habits are not destiny, they are choice. You can change them, mold them, and align them with the person you want to become. And when you do, consistency no longer feels like effort, it feels natural. Habits also protect your consistency during adversity. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances will change, motivation will falter, the storms will come. But when your growth is anchored in habits, your progress does not stop. You may bend, you may sway, but you do not break. You continue moving forward because the structure is built into your daily life. Habit creates resilience, and resilience sustains momentum. Here's a practical example. A person wants to become physically stronger. Motivation comes and goes. Gym sessions are skipped. Enthusiasm fades. But by creating a habit, train at 6 a.m. every day, regardless of mood, they remove reliance on willpower alone. The habit carries them through low motivation. The consistency compounds. Strength grows. Confidence grows. Limits are shattered, not by chance, but by design. Habits shape identity. When you consistently act in alignment with your goals, your behavior begins to define who you are. You no longer think, "I want to be a writer." You become a writer. You no longer think, "I want to be disciplined." You become disciplined. Habits embed possibility into identity, and identity guides action effortlessly. This chapter is a call to intentional design. Your habits are the scaffolding of your success. Build them carefully, align them with your goals, anchor your consistency in routines that are unshakable. Make small, deliberate choices that repeat daily until showing up is no longer a struggle. It is automatic, inevitable, unstoppable. As this chapter closes, remember this: habits are not restrictions, they are liberators. They free you from the tyranny of decision fatigue, from the uncertainty of motivation, from the vulnerability of inconsistency. They anchor you in action, even when life is chaotic, and they turn repeated effort into unstoppable momentum. In the next chapter, we will explore the hidden power of resilience, the inner strength that grows when consistency is tested, when habits are challenged, and when the unexpected tries to derail your progress. You will learn how to harness adversity itself as fuel to break through limits and expand what you once believed possible. Prepare yourself. The structure you create today, the habits you choose and repeat, are the anchors that will hold you steady in the storms ahead. The journey continues, and with the right habits, nothing will stop you from reaching your full potential. Chapter 8: Resilience, Turning Challenges into Fuel. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind roaring around you, the ground unstable beneath your feet. The fear is real. The doubt is heavy. Every instinct tells you to retreat, to step back, to surrender, and yet something inside pushes you forward. That something is resilience, the quiet, unyielding force that allows you to face adversity and keep moving toward your goals, no matter the obstacles. Resilience is not a trait you are born with, it is a skill you cultivate. It is forged through repeated confrontation with difficulty, through consistent action in the face of challenge, and through the unwavering belief that you are capable of more than you feel in the moment. Every limit you thought was unbreakable can be shattered when resilience becomes your companion. Consider a storm. It lashes at trees, bends them, threatens to uproot them. Yet some trees bend without breaking. Their roots run deep. Their structure is strong. Their resilience is invisible until tested. And in life, challenges are storms. They test your mental strength, your discipline, your patience. And just like the trees, Resilience is what allows you to bend, adjust, and emerge stronger. Resilience is built in moments when you have no choice but to continue. It is built when setbacks hit, when failures sting, and when everything within you cries out to quit. Each time you rise, each time you act despite discouragement, each time you refuse to surrender, you reinforce the invisible muscles of your mind and spirit. These moments may feel small, but they compound over time, making you unbreakable. Let me share a story. A young athlete trained for years to qualify for a championship. Injuries struck, losses piled up, and others told him he wasn't good enough, yet he continued. He adjusted his training, he healed, he returned, day after day, year after year. Eventually, he not only qualified but excelled, outperforming those who had doubted him. His secret was not talent alone. It was resilience, the ability to face adversity and use it as fuel rather than an excuse to quit. Resilience transforms perspective. Challenges cease to be barriers, they become lessons. Failures cease to be endpoints, they become guides. Every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger, every setback a chance to sharpen your resolve. This mindset is what separates those who break through limits from those who remain constrained by them. Resilience changes the way you see yourself and the world around you. It is important to understand that resilience is not about enduring blindly. It is about responding intentionally. It is about maintaining control over your actions and emotions, even when circumstances seem chaotic. It is about seeing difficulty not as a punishment, but as a signal that growth is possible, that limits are being challenged, and that transformation is underway. Resilience also thrives on small wins. Each time you meet a challenge and persist, no matter how minor, you reinforce the belief that you can overcome the next one. Momentum grows, confidence deepens, and your capacity to handle greater adversity expands. Over time, resilience becomes habitual, like a muscle strengthened by repeated use, allowing you to face even the most daunting challenges with composure and determination. Ask yourself, where have I surrendered too soon? Where have I let fear or doubt dictate my action? And now ask, how would my life change if I met each challenge with intention? If I used obstacles as fuel, and if I strengthened my resilience daily? The answers are powerful because resilience is not a limitation. It is liberation. It frees you from the chains of fear, from the tyranny of self-doubt, and from the illusion of insurmountable limits. The world will not always cooperate. Life will not always be fair. Circumstances will push, test, and sometimes break you. But resilience ensures that when you are pushed, tested, or broken, you rise again smarter, stronger, and more capable than before. It is the difference between surviving and thriving, between remaining stagnant and breaking every limit you once believed existed. Reflection is crucial. Take a moment to recall a time when adversity challenged you. Did you falter, or did you persevere? How did that experience shape your strength, your mindset, your future actions? Resilience is built in these moments. It is the conscious choice to turn challenges into fuel, to transform resistance into growth, and to make the seemingly impossible possible. This chapter is a call to embrace resilience as a deliberate practice. Each setback is an opportunity. Each obstacle is a teacher. Each moment of difficulty is a chance to stretch beyond your comfort, to expand your capacity, and to build the internal strength that will carry you through life's storms. The limits you once feared are temporary. Resilience makes them breakable. As this chapter closes, remember this: adversity is not your enemy, it is your ally. Each challenge is a test of your commitment, each failure a lesson, and each difficulty a stepping stone toward transformation. Harness resilience, and you will discover that the human spirit is capable of far more than you ever imagined. In the next chapter, we will explore the role of mindset in sustaining consistency and resilience, the way your thoughts shape your actions, reinforce your habits, and ultimately define the limits you are capable of breaking. You will learn how to cultivate a mindset that supports relentless growth and unshakable determination. Prepare yourself. The storms are part of the journey. Your resilience is the vessel that carries you through, and with it, every limit, every barrier, and every fear can be confronted and ultimately conquered. Chapter 9: Mindset, the Architect of Limits. Close your eyes and imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. Each strike of the chisel is deliberate, precise. Every decision shapes what will emerge. Now realize this: your mind is that sculptor, and your mindset is the chisel. The limits you face, the obstacles you encounter, the goals you achieve or fail to achieve, are all shaped by how you think. Mindset is the invisible architect of every possibility in your life. The most powerful breakthroughs do not start with resources, talent, or opportunity. They start with thought. How you perceive challenges, setbacks, and effort will determine whether you rise or fall. A fixed mindset sees difficulty as a threat, failure as a reflection of inadequacy, and effort as unnecessary or futile. A growth mindset sees difficulty as a challenge, failure as feedback, and effort as the vehicle for transformation. Your mindset determines whether consistency is a struggle or a natural force in your life. Consider a young musician practicing scales for hours each day. Some days, the notes feel harsh, the fingers clumsy. Some days, the progress is invisible. The difference between those who become virtuosos and those who quit is not just talent, it is mindset. The virtuoso believes that each small repetition builds skill. The virtuoso trusts that practice compounds, that improvement is inevitable if effort is consistent. The other sees repetition as tedious, sees mistakes as proof of inadequacy, and eventually stops showing up. Mindset shapes action, and action shapes result. Your thoughts are the lens through which you experience every challenge. If you believe limits are fixed, they will be. If you believe limits can be broken, they will be. Mindset is not mere optimism. It is a conscious strategy to align your beliefs with your goals. It is the understanding that growth is a process, effort is essential, and potential is not predetermined, but expandable. Mindset interacts with every element we have explored: patience, habits, resilience. Patience requires the belief that time compounds effort. Habits require the belief that small actions are meaningful. Resilience requires the belief that adversity is a tool, not a punishment. Without the proper mindset, even the most consistent effort can falter. With it, you turn obstacles into opportunities, repetition into mastery, and limits into thresholds waiting to be crossed. Let me share a story. A woman wanted to start a business in a competitive market. She faced skepticism from setbacks from early failures, and moments when giving up felt like the only option. But she cultivated a mindset that saw challenges as lessons, not barriers. She redefined failure as feedback, small wins as progress, and effort as non-negotiable. Years later, she succeeded beyond what she initially imagined, not because the path was easier, but because her mindset allowed her to persist, adapt, and grow. Mindset also shapes how you respond to inconsistency. Life will test your habits, your resilience, and your patience. It will confront you with periods of doubt, distraction, and fatigue. How you interpret these periods is crucial. A growth-oriented mindset sees temporary setbacks as signals to adjust, to learn, to refine, and to persist. A limiting mindset sees them as signs of futility, reasons to quit, and proof of inadequacy. One approach breaks limits, the other reinforces them. To cultivate a mindset capable of breaking limits, begin by observing your thoughts. Notice the internal dialogue when faced with effort, adversity, or delay. Ask yourself, Are these thoughts empowering or limiting? Do they encourage action or promote avoidance? The answer is your starting point for transformation. By choosing to challenge negative or fixed beliefs, by consciously reinforcing growth-oriented thinking, you actively shape the architect of your life. Your mind, visualization, is a powerful tool. Picture yourself achieving what you currently believe is beyond reach. Imagine the consistent effort, the small steps, the resilience required. Feel the progress, the momentum, the satisfaction of breaking limits. Mindset connects imagination to reality. When your thoughts align with consistent action, patience, and resilience, your mind becomes a fertile ground where limits no longer hold power. Mindset is not static, it must be trained, just like your body and habit. Daily reflection, intentional thought, and conscious reframing of challenges create a mental environment where growth becomes inevitable. When the mind is properly conditioned, consistency ceases to be a struggle. It becomes a natural expression of who you are, a reflection of your belief in your own potential. Ask yourself, how am I thinking about my limits today? Do I see obstacles as walls or as doors? Do I see effort as tedious or transformative? The answers shape your reality, change your mindset, and the way you experience every challenge, every habit, every setback changes with. Mindset is not just thinking differently, it is living differently, acting differently, and creating a life where breaking limits is inevitable. As this chapter closes, embrace the power of your mind. Recognize that your thoughts are the architects of your reality, the unseen forces that shape your actions and define your limits. Align your mindset with growth, resilience, and consistency, and you will find that no obstacle is insurmountable, no challenge unmanageable, and no limit permanent. In the next and final chapter, we will bring everything together. We will explore how consistency, patience, habits, resilience, and mindset combine into an unstoppable force that allows you to break every limit you once believed you had. We will conclude with a roadmap to integrate these principles into your life so that transformation is not temporary, but permanent. Prepare yourself. Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. When it is aligned with your effort, your habits, your resilience, and your patience, every limit becomes breakable, and every goal becomes reachable. Chapter 10. The Power of Unstoppable Consistency. Picture a river carving its way through stone. At first, the rock seems immovable. The water's force is invisible, quiet, almost insignificant. Yet, over days, months, years, the river wears the rock down, creating valleys, shaping landscapes, revealing paths that once seemed impossible. This is consistency. Subtle, relentless, transformative. It is the invisible force that breaks limits, reshapes lives, and turns the impossible into the inevitable. Consistency is not glamorous. It does not arrive with fanfare or instant results. It whispers, quietly demanding repetition, patience, and faith in the process. It is waking up each day and showing up, even when the results are invisible. It is taking one more step when your body aches, speaking one more word of encouragement when doubt looms, practicing one more time when failure seems final. This is how limits fall, quietly, steadily, relentlessly. Think about the countless stories of those who achieved greatness, not because they were extraordinary in one instant, but because they were ordinary people who refused to quit. They mastered the art of showing up, day after day. Every habit, every effort, every disciplined action compounded. Small steps, repeated consistently, created an unstoppable force that no obstacle could withstand. Consistency is the engine behind all remarkable achievements. But consistency alone is not enough. It must be aligned with purpose, guided by resilience and fueled by the right mindset. Without meaning, repetition becomes rote. Without resilience, effort falters in the face of adversity. Without mindset, persistence can be aimless. When these elements converge, you create a force that is unstoppable, a momentum that carries you past every limit you once feared. Let us reflect on patience. Consistency without patience is like planting a seed and digging it up every day to see if it has grown. True growth takes time. The results you seek will not always be immediate, but if you maintain your effort, nurture your habits, and trust the process, your persistence will bear fruit beyond what you imagined. Patience transforms consistent action from a chore into a lifelong strategy for mastery. Resilience is the companion of consistency. Storms will come, failures will strike. There will be days when your motivation wavers and the world seems determined to break you. Yet, if you remain resilient, each challenge becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. The pain, the setbacks, the doubt, they are not your enemy. They are the instruments through which consistency becomes transformative. Each time you rise after a fall, your limits recede further and your capacity grows stronger. Mindset is the architect that ensures your efforts are purposeful. A growth-oriented mindset sees each repetition as progress, each struggle as a lesson, and each day as an opportunity to advance. When your thoughts align with your actions, consistency becomes effortless. When your mind believes in your capacity to grow, your habits align with your vision, and your resilience meets every challenge without hesitation. Mindset, consistency, and resilience together form an unbreakable triad. Consider the metaphor of the sculptor once more. You are shaping yourself. Each day of consistent effort is a chisel stroke. Each act of patience and resilience refines your form. Each thought in alignment with growth smooths the edges. Over time, what was once raw, unformed, and limited becomes a masterpiece, a life sculpted intentionally, a reality where limits are not obstacles, but milestones you have already passed. Consistency also amplifies confidence. Every small win, every effort that compounds over time, reinforces the belief in your own power. Confidence is not an innate gift, it is earned through repetition, through showing up, through seeing that your actions produce results. And as confidence grows, so does your willingness to challenge bigger limits, to take greater risks, and to redefine what is possible in your life. Now, let's be honest, the journey is not easy. There will be fatigue, distraction, and moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. Yet, it is precisely in those moments that consistency matters most. Showing up when it hurts, when the rewards are not visible, when the world offers no applause, this is the defining difference between those who break limits and those who remain confined by them. True transformation is born in the quiet persistence that no one sees. Here is the final truth. Consistency is the bridge between potential and achievement. It turns knowledge into skill, effort into mastery, and dreams into reality. Every habit you maintain, every act of patience, every moment of resilience, every thought shaped by a growth-oriented mindset, compounds into a life that knows no limits. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable, and what once felt out of reach becomes your reality. As you close this audiobook, remember that the power lies not in one grand gesture, but in the accumulation of small, purposeful actions repeated daily. The limits you once feared are not walls, they are stepping stones. The challenges you encountered are not dead ends, they are invitations to rise. The habits you cultivate, the patience you practice, the resilience you develop, and the mindset you nurture are the tools that break every barrier. So take this moment as a promise to yourself to show up every day, to trust the process, to embrace patience, to cultivate resilience, and to shape your mind intentionally. The river carves the rock, the sculptor reveals the masterpiece, and you, through unstoppable consistency, will break every limit, redefine every boundary, and achieve every goal you dare to pursue. Go forward with determination. Go forward with faith in your own effort. Go forward knowing that the force you have built, consistency in action, clarity in purpose, resilience in adversity, and the power of mindset cannot be stopped. Your limits are temporary. Your growth is inevitable, and the life you desire is waiting for you, forged by the power of your consistent action. This is your journey. This is your transformation. This is your life, unbound, limitless, unstoppable.